Hello, math students. Welcome back to Module 3, Expressions and Equations. This is Lesson 9. It is called Graphing Solutions to Inequalities. In our previous lesson, we talked about what inequalities are, and we're remembering that inequalities means that they are not equal. They are less than, they are greater than, they are less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, but they're not exactly equal. Our goal for today's lesson is, today we will learn how to graph inequalities. The question that I want you to think about is, what does a closed circle on a graph of an inequality mean? All right, so some things to know. The graphing in and outs of inequality. To graph an inequality, you must use a number line and arrows with a circle at the end. So what you need to do is, here's a number line, and I like to keep the number line empty until I know what the values are, because once you know what your values are, when you have an inequality, then you are able to write in the values that you need to use, and then you actually show what it looks like on the number line. Something that you need to be aware of is that an arrow, an arrow with an open circle means that it is greater than or less than, depending on which way the arrow is showing. So on this one, we would say if the value is sitting under here, then we would be talking about all of the values that go to the right. So this one shows you that it is the value of the variable would be greater than, because your variable actually sits on the number that sits right here, and then we're talking about everything with a value that's greater than that. So this open circle with an arrow to the right means greater than. Okay, and if we have a open circle and the arrow is facing to the left, then we know that we're talking about a number that's sitting right here, and it's all the values that are less than that. So this one means less than. Okay, so that's what these arrows with open circles represent. An arrow with a closed circle represents greater than / equal to, or less than / equal to. These symbols, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So again, if you're paying attention to what this is looking like, this closed dot or closed circle is going to be sitting on a number, and then it's talking about it could be that number exactly or anything bigger. So again, this one right here is showing you greater than or equal to. Okay, and this line right here, it means it's sitting on an exact number. That means that the answer could be exactly that number or anything below it. So this one is called less than or equal to. Okay, so these are kind of some very important symbols to remember. Remember, this line up here is just a number line that allows us to actually put these arrows with open circles or closed circles on to show you what we're talking about and what a value would be. All right, okay, so now the last thing that I want to do is I want us to try it. It says 2 identical cars fit in a garage. The garage is 23 feet 6 inches. There must be 3 feet 6 inches on each side of each car. How wide can the cars be? Okay, so that's an actual problem that we have to figure out the answer to first, and then they're going to ask us to graph it. Okay, so 2 identical cars fit in a garage, and the garage is 23 feet 6 inches. Okay, must be 3 feet 6 inches on each side of the car. How wide can the cars be? So that's the second time that we have it. We need 2 cars that are exactly the same size. The garage is 23 feet by 6 inches, or 23 feet 6 inches wide. There must be 3 feet 6 inches on each side of the car. So on the left side of this car, the right side of this car, the left side of this car, the right side of this car. And then it says, how wide can the cars be? So basically, we've found our quantities, we've read it for understanding, and one more thing that I would like to do is let's draw a picture. So let's pretend this is our garage right here. We know from here to here is 23 feet 6 inches, right? all the way across. And then we know that we're going to have a car that is going to sit right here. And we know that there's going to be a car that sits right here, right? And then we know that from here to here, and from here to here, and from here to here, I'm sorry, it's not drawn to scale, that this has to be 3 feet 6 inches. This has to be 3 feet 6 inches. And this has to be 3 feet 6 inches. That's what we know, okay? So now your job is to figure out what is the width of the car, okay? And so we have 2 of those. Let's call them each X because it says they are identical cars, so that means they're going to be identical size. And now, boys and girls, we can write an equation and we can figure this out. So how many X's do you see? You see 2 X's plus, it says 3 feet 6 inches here, 3 feet 6 inches here, and 3 feet 6 inches here. Well, that's 3, 6, 9 feet so far, right? And then 6 plus 6 is 12, so that makes 10. So we actually have 10 feet 6 inches. And all of that is supposed to make 23 feet 6 inches. That's what it's supposed to be equal to, right? But since we're trying to figure out how long the cars can be, where it exactly fits, or it could be smaller. So we're going to say that the car can be exactly equal to the garage size, or the cars have to be less than the car or the size of the garage. So I'm going to say that what we're looking for inequality-wise is we would say that the cars are less than or equal to 23 feet 6 inches. That's how we determine whether it's an inequality or not. We can't have it greater than that because then the cars won't fit. It has to be less than that so that there would still be wiggle room for the cars, because it says they have to have at least 3 feet 6 inches on each side of the car. Okay, so we've got that going. So now we get to solve. So we're going to subtract 10 feet 6 inches from both sides. So 10 feet 6 inches from both sides. We're going to subtract that off. So that one's gone for a 0 pair. 6 inches minus 6 inches is 0 inches. 23 minus 10 is 13 feet. So now we have 13 feet is less than or equal to 2x. Because there's 2 cars, now we have to divide both sides by 2. And now we know that each car, because 13 divided by 2 is 6.5, so we know that each car has to be at least, or can be less than, or equal to 6.5 feet. So that means that you have 6 feet 6 inches. Okay, so now we figured out what the inequality answer would be. That was a good job on that one. And so we go up here to our number line, remembering that X is less than or equal to 6. If you have 6.5 feet, you really have 6 feet 6 inches, right? So it would be 6.5, right? Same thing as 6.5, same thing as 6.5. Those are all the same things, right? So it says X has to be less than or equal to. So if I put 0 right here on my number line, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we know that the car has to be less than or equal to 6.5. So 6.5, I would say, sits about right here. And so to draw it or to graph it, because that's what our title says is graphing solutions to inequalities, you would actually come to 6.5 and close your circle, because remember, when it is less than or equal to, it has to be a closed circle, right? So I have a closed circle, and if it's less than, then my arrow can go this way. So that means that each car can be exactly 6 feet 6 inches or less. So it could be 6 feet, it could be 5 feet, it could be 4 feet, it could be 3 feet, it could be 2 feet, it could be 1 foot wide, but very typically we would never see a car that would be 1 foot wide, because I don't think those can exist with actually having having seats in there. But you now know that to graph our solution, our x, the size of each car, then it would have to be 6.5 feet or less in order for it to fit. And that is how you graph a solution to a problem that we just did, right? We graph the solution to the problem on the number line. Okay? All right, so let's go back to our goal for today. It says today we will learn how to graph inequalities, which is what we did. What does a closed circle on a graph of an inequality mean? It means that the value that you find on the number line is equal to or less than or greater than. So equal to makes it closed, and then it's either equal to exactly that number or less, or equal exactly to that number or more. Okay, and so that's what the closed circle means. All right, kiddos, I think this is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. Make sure that you have these specifically written down because it's hard to remember them. So remember to write down open circle means just the direction of the arrow greater than, open circle, the direction of the arrow is less than. Closed circle means that it could be greater than, equal to, or less than, equal to. So you got to know the difference between the open circles and closed circles and what the direction of the arrow means. All right, kiddos, that's all I have for you today. Talk to you soon. Bye.